Now, today's Dhanteras, with the mega shopping bonanza playing out as we speak, the surge in e-commerce activity is projected to add to the country's economic growth. Retailers expect record-breaking sales, especially as Diwali shopping peaks, aligning with the World Bank's revised forecast for India's 7.5% GDP growth in 2024. This festive surge could counteract recent economic slowdowns and contribute significantly to India's trajectory as the world's fastest-growing economy. In this perspective, in this background, we ask, will India's Diwali festivities continue to energize the market momentum and spur high consumer spending? Joining me to discuss this further is Ormaz Sorabji, an auto sector expert, and Sanchita Mukherjee, economist. Thank you to both of you for joining me on the discussion. The first question, if I can take to you, Ormaz, talking numbers, do you see the uptick in growth being further fueled by festive spending? If you just look at the automobile sector, which is, of course, one of the big indicators, big economic indicators every time. So do you think that this is going to fuel consumer spending further, going by what we have seen in the run-up to Diwali?
Well, it's definitely going to be a shot in the arm for what is really a pretty, tough market. Inventory levels have gone up to 650,000. Obviously, consumers are not buying the way they used to. But I think, with fantastic deals and offers for Diwali, that is the time to spend. I think this is going to be a cracker of a month. It will be a good month. And what we are seeing is consumers are willing to spend. And as you said, consumer spending has increased. But at the end of the day, Indians are very value conscious and very value driven. And, it's the deal that they are seeking across the board. They're getting some really good offers. And I think that's what's going to drive sales. So I think it'll be a good month for the auto sector. Much needed shot in the arm, as I said. But after Diwali, I think, the outlook isn't very good.
Okay. Sanchita, bringing you on in this discussion, do you see this boost, shot in the arm that Ormaz is talking about, can this boost be sustained over time, or do you see this as a temporary phenomenon?
I see the slowdown as a temporary one, albeit there has been a slowdown for a while. I mean, if one were to look at the economic indicators, there's been a slowdown in the auto sales. There's been a slowdown, a little bit of a soft number on the GST collection side, on the power offtake, on cement sales, all of that, right? However, having said that, most economists are very, very optimistic that, yes, we've had a phenomenal monsoon season. The Indian Meteorological Department has predicted that the monsoon this year has been 7.6% above the average monsoon levels of previous years. So hence, we actually do forecast a higher rural demand revival in the second half of this year. Having said that, also, there would be some support in terms of fiscal spending, front-loaded fiscal spending, as well as a bit of easing on the monetary side. Is the expectation is still there, because right now, if you were to see, the banks almost slowed down massively on their credit spending in March, April, because the loan to deposit ratio was too high and RBI wanted that to come down. But having said that, RBI has now currently kept the liquidity well, and we do expect interest rates to come down, which will be a further shot in the arm. So I would assume that this is a temporary slowdown of the Indian economy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Ormaz, while we talk about, growth and, the surge in terms of which we see during this festive season, while the demand surges, there are also supply side pressures. Will that dampen the growth spurt that we're looking at right now?
Well, I think the supply side pressures have largely eased. I think clearly, the whole semiconductor challenge and, coming out of COVID, production constraints, all that, that has largely eased. In fact, it just suddenly opened up and, clearly it's totally flipped. It right now very much is a buyer's market. And I think we were seeing supplies on certain specific models where, let's say they've always had a pull and there's been some production constraints. So it's more model specific than overall industry specific. I mean, you've seen something like the Mahindra Thar rocks. which we just did a story. The waiting list has gone into 2026 because there's been huge demand. They've not been able to ramp up production for that. You've still got cars like, some of the hybrid models, which are still, of Toyota's still got a waiting list over there. So you've got specific models which have far more demand than the manufacturers supply. But overall, I think it's back to the pre-COVID days where dealers will really have to move metal. They'll really have to woo consumers. And I think what's really alarming that the whole idea was to keep the pipeline tight and not have these inventory levels built up. But I think inventory levels are becoming alarmingly high. And that again puts a lot of pressures on the whole retail network. So I think it's good time for the car buyers. Lots of great deals to be had out there. And I think as I said, when they see a good deal, they are willing to spend. I think what I'd also like to add is what we have seen is that the overall ticket price has gone up. Really, you see the center of gravity of the market is now really in this 15 lakh range. Below it was around below 10 lakhs. So, the propensity to buy, people want to indulge more. And I think that's really good for the auto sector because they are moving into more profitable segments, or the more profitable segments are becoming the core of the market, which is good for the auto companies because, we've typically been a high volume, low margin market, which we still are. But this is a movement in the right direction for the auto industry.
All right. Getting in Sanchita now on the next question. There's retail and automobile and white goods, precious metals, which primarily drive the festive spending. Can these sectors contribute to concrete GDP growth? Because after all, core sectors that lead to GDP growth are primarily agriculture, infra and manufacturing. They aren't as impacted during the festive season.
Oh, yes. In fact, if you see private consumption, it's almost drives 60% of our GDP. So it's very, very critical that this annual festive spending contributes meaningfully to the economy. Having said that, I think the rural demand revival, but as my fellow panelists said, there is a lot of incremental demand which is coming on quality, on the premium segment, because we are a very aspirational society wherein consumption in the luxury segment, in consumer goods, in auto, all of that will contribute very meaningfully. And I think recent surveys also show that despite e-commerce doing well, most Indian households prefer, almost 70% of Indian households prefer to do an in-store buying experience. So all of that does contribute. I think apart from rural demand, if you were to see the urban consumption in air passenger traffic, high-end travel, all of that real estate offtake, it has been consistently quite high for the last couple of quarters. What we would like to see is actually a lot of fiscal spending from both the state government side and the central, once I think the state government elections are done with, followed by a monetary easing by the central bank, which will give a further fill up to the consumption cycle.
Right. Urma Sorabji, Sanchita Mukherjee, thank you so much for joining us on this discussion. And as we are talking about festive spending, and Dhanteras is of course being celebrated today, and my colleague Sakshi Bajaj went out to the markets in Delhi to capture people's mood there.
See the traffic, the crowds really increasing here. We are in New Delhi's GK1 M Block market, and you can see while we have been speaking to jewelry store owners and we've been getting you the reactions there from consumers as well as what retail store owners have to say, now you can really see the festive spirit in the markets. You can see that people are here on Dhanteras, which is considered very auspicious, to not only buy gold and silver but also to buy diyas, to buy lots of items really to decorate their house ahead of Diwali for the festive season. Remember, it is Diwali soon, and you can really see the color. And we'll just speak to some customers and ask them what are they buying. So what are you buying this Dhanteras, and what are you buying for Diwali as well?
So for Dhanteras, I picked up some household things like kadhai and a frying pan, and I picked up one atta gunne wala parat, which is I think very auspicious.
Right.
So something in metal that said that you have to buy for the household. Right. So that I bought because gold is reaching the high sky, so can't afford that. Right. And for Diwali, I always traditionally buy these big diyas jo sari raat jalte hain. And this time Diwali being divided on 2 days, so I picked up a little bit more that I want all 3 days ki Diwali pe diya bada wala jale. Right. And few other things, there's a chaukhut and there's a ghar wala 4 diyas and all just
Absolutely. Things. So like you heard, many saying that look, gold and silver prices are at a record high. So you know what, we are going to buy other items, we are going to buy diyas. Given the fact that it is at least a 3-day festive spirit here now, we're also going to speak to some others ahead of Diwali on what they are buying. Hello ma'am, what are you buying ahead of Diwali?
I'm bringing Ganesh ji and Lakshmi ji home.
Right.
Not much, just basic diyas.
And what do you have to say about the quick commerce and e-commerce, momentum really at large picking up?
About that right now.
You don't want to talk about that? You're here to personally see what you want?
It's really amazing to be shopping and doing all these things, but the traffic is so bad and the congestions are really horrible. But yeah, we want to decorate our houses and make everything look so beautiful and expansive. So a little bit of hassle in the travel, but the things here are beautiful and I think it's really nice.
Right, so hassle in the travel as you heard, but of course the festive spirit and the products in the markets, like you heard customers say, very, very beautiful. They want to come here, buy a lot of these things, look at them personally themselves to decorate their homes, and not just homes really. Remember, Dhanteras is considered very auspicious to, of course, buy the precious metals, gold and silver. And despite prices hitting a record high, despite the quick commerce and e-commerce trend coming in, you will hear voices really from retail stores and retail store owners telling us